now I'll ask you something. I'll give you like 5, 6 categories, and I would like to know your viewpoint in terms
Yes.
of which brands fall into these
Yes.
categories at best.
Okay.
So, okay. So, what brands or automobiles would you recommend the following people to check out for people who are into classic cars?
For classic cars, see, any day, I prefer the Americans, right? Okay,
Hmm.
because I am very, very inspired by the tail fins.
Hmm.
The
Impala.
Cadillac tail fins, the big tail fin of the 59 model.
Even Impala had that.
Impala is common, right?
Okay. Okay.
The tail fin, any car with a tail fin is
Hmm.
what I would love to have it.
Hmm.
Okay, the big American cars with the tail fins. Cadillac also had it, Chrysler also had it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there are a lot of brands. Let me
Hmm.
not be biased towards a brand, but then any brand with a tail fin.
Hmm.
And then if you look at the smaller classic cars,
Hmm.
I love the Citroens. I
Hmm.
mean, they look very futuristic to me.
True.
The
Right. Right.
Citroens.
Right. Okay. And second, for people passionate about good quality engineering.
Good quality engineering has to be the Germans. I mean, you cannot beat them.
Hmm.
They invented the engine, right? I mean, most of the inventions were done. Carl Benz invented the first motor car.
Hmm.
And
Right.
whatever tech you see, the
Ah.
safety technology, the fuel injections, the hybrids, uh, Germans, I would say. Though I would also say the olden Japanese cars,
Hmm.
80s Japanese cars, at a time when there was this gas crisis,
Hmm.
everyone was using a catalytic converter to pass emissions.
Hmm.
Honda CVCC engine didn't use a catalytic converter yet it passed emissions. So that how good Honda was in its heydays.
Hmm. Hmm. But even after Germans being so good with engineering, I've noticed that, I mean, just to elaborate a little bit on this, on Indian roads, I'm seeing people are struggling to maintain these German cars, and the
Yes.
Japanese cars, and for that matter, even Tatas or Mahindras, they seem to be lasting longer than any of these
It
cars.
is the electricals.
Okay.
Japanese have mastered reliability. Toyota, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
they when they design a car, or rather they designed a car that day. Today's Toyotas, they are all Suzukis, most of them, right?
Hmm.
I'm talking about the real Toyotas,
Hmm.
which last for 7 lakh, 8 lakh, 9 lakh, 10 lakh kilometers.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
The components are designed in such a way that they're meant to last, and they're very simple in terms of designs.
Fine example would be Land Cruiser. I mean,
Land Cruiser,
you buy a Land
always,
Cruiser, the damn thing lasts for 30 years. People
yeah,
keep it for 40
yeah.
years. Hmm.
I'll tell you one thing, when I was looking at the brochure of the Qualis, it had mentioned that the seat folding mechanism, it underwent testing 1 lakh times so that it doesn't rattle. They mentioned it.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That's how Toyotas work. Today's companies have deviated from their core values.
People with people driven with design and form. What brands would you recommend?
Design and form, Audi, I would
Okay.
say. I would even say Fiat. Today's Fiat, I mean, the electric vehicles are good looking.
Hmm.
Uh, Plus, of course, I would also say to a certain extent Volkswagen. Volkswagens are decent looking cars.
Volkswagens, I feel, are
And
also very well finished in terms
yes,
of well stanced
yes,
from factory.
and Cadillac.
Okay. Okay. And for people who are into motor racing and sports car enthusiasts.
Motor racing and sports car enthusiast, lot of brands are there. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're talking about supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, but then Porsche has a car for everyone.
Hmm.
And then now you see McLaren is coming out good in roads.
Yeah.
But then Aston Martin also has a character.
Yes. Yeah.
It should get recognition. Aston's, they're elegant,
Hmm.
right?
For me, I mean, just to put in 2 cents from my side in this particular category, for people who want to, who are sports car, like purists, sports car and racing purists, hands down 911 Porsche.
Yes,
I mean, that thing just slams down
yes.
every other car
That
manufacturer.
is a car for everyone. You have the basic model, you have the touring model, you have the track focus model, you have the super track focus
And the
model.
best part about the 911 Sid is that I've observed that एक 911 निकालते हैं फॉर एग्जांपल 500 bhp की, नर्बुर्गरिंग पे एक टाइम निकाला, किसी दूसरी कार कंपनी ने, मैन्युफैक्चरर ने एक गाड़ी निकाल के उनका टाइम अगर बीट कर दिया, वो 911 ही अपग्रेड करके सब कुछ सेम रखेगा, बस उसको और फाइन ट्यून करके रिफाइन करके इट विल गेट द फास्टेस्ट टाइम.
Yes.
They have stuck to their roots so
Yes.
well, I feel,
And that too since 1953.
yes, Beetle का design, Beetle and 911
Yes.
came down from the same design, I think.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. People for whom comfort and vehicle experience supersedes everything else.
Lexus has to be the Lexus. I mean, just
That's
see how
right.
comfortable these cars are.
Hmm.
Lexus, and I would also say, to a certain extent, the Rolls Royce.
I mean, I still hope to be able to sit in one. I have never sat in one. Have you?
A lot of times.
Okay. I think in terms of comfort, Mercedes is also doing a decent job with some of its cars. At
Yeah.
least. S-Class and even the new E-Class
Yes.
long wheelbase, I think it's a damn comfortable car.
And
the
if I want to go down in the mass market segment, has to be Citroen.
Citroen?
Yes.
Really?
You ride on the C3, you ride on the Aircross, you won't believe what it rides over bad roads like anything. That mastered ride quality. Citroen.
Okay. Okay. Why do you think but they are not able to be successful in India? Yet?
Because of their half-hearted attempt in terms of features and design and pricing.
Or I think even marketing in India.
Yeah.
Last portion, excellent driving experience. For people who want an excellent driving experience, which brands should they be looking at?
Ford has to be Ford, and I would say Ford has been one of my favorites in terms of the driving dynamics that appeals to everyone. Japanese, if you talk about Mazda,
Okay.
Subaru is no longer that charm is there, right?
Okay.
But if I would take a special mention, has to be the Hyundai N.
Really?
If you start looking at the reviews of Hyundai N, i20N, i30N, Elantra N, these cars are kicking asses in their segments. I mean, big journalists are driving the reviews about Hyundai N. They are going crazy behind the cars. The Hyundai N is something to look forward. In fact, there are a lot of clubs also worldwide.
Yeah.
A lot of mods are also there.
I mean, I think it's created a big shout even in WRC,
Yes.
for that matter, World Rally.
Obviously, I told you, have something
Oh,
for
yes.
everyone.
But what about the Europeans? What do you think that
Europeans haven't innovated much. If you look at most of the AMGs or the M's or the RSs, they are just diluting with every passing generation. They are more towards softness, more towards artificialness. Whereas the M is the yesteryear's AMG. There is, see, end of the day, the BMW M's boss is heading the N division. So he has been given a free hand in doing what he wants to do. So if you even have a chance to drive, you must take a drive and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be a fun one. Can you create your imaginary dream car using components or features of all the cars currently in the market?
It's going to be a very tough choice.
And guess what? Who gave me this question? Who suggested this question? My wife.
See, I'm more into hatchbacks, as you know.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So I would like to see the design of the A45S.
Okay.
Right, with a V8 engine. With the V8 engine, say something from a Hemi.
Okay.
Right. So that would make for a good muscle hatchback. With
what kind of weight would you want a lightweight?
Lighter weight, like the innovations that Honda did with the NSX.
Okay.
Aluminium. Right. And the dynamics of a Porsche.
Okay.
The dynamics of a Porsche. And of course, the reliability of a Lexus. And that is one of the fine reasons why LFA is a very high regarded car in my books.
And it's one of the unsung heroes, I would say. Big time, unsung
Yes,
heroes.
very high quality car.
Hmm. Okay.
Like I said, there's so many cars today, it's very tough to choose.
True. True. Few pointers for an automotive enthusiast to help him develop his passion for automobiles into a profession.
Today we are living, see, this is going to be a very controversial and a very serious answer, because today we are living at an age where you don't value the people who are into cars. Okay, there are two types of people who develop into a profession. Either they are engineers who are developing cars for manufacturers, or they are in the product development team, or they are into automotive journalism. But today, if you look at the overall market, especially in our country, the openness is not there. In fact, you are curtailed by bean counters. Curtailed means, if I want to develop something which my mind has, I want to bring a change in the company, can't get it because bean counters rule. They say ki customers don't want, right? And if you are into journalism, you want to be unbiased, you cannot be unbiased because manufacturers, they fund your income and everything, ads and everything. If you want to become an engineer, you can become an engineer, but then you are curtailed by the accounts. You don't want a car to be long lasting, you don't want a car to be good looking, you want it but you cannot do it, or maybe if at all some units come, it will be limited edition. But then the biggest problem I'm facing here, we are facing, is the Indian consumer mindset, which is a very tricky to to develop. Enthusiasts who are buying enthusiast cars, they are not keeping the cars for a long time. They are keeping for 6 months and flipping it, which is a very stupid thing, I would say. There's a long list of all the cars. Enthusiasts are buying washing machines and flipping it for profit. Enthusiasts are not talking about cars, they're only talking about flashiness.
When you say they're buying washing machines and flipping it for profit, what exactly do you mean?
Washing machines means today's cars are not raw, right?
Correct.
So they are washing machines. They are washing machines. You are buying the car which has everything controlled by a computer, too much of electronic aids, ADAS, this, that. You're buying a car for 30 lakhs, flipping for 45 lakhs. And mostly, you're just modding the car for the sake of showing it off on social media without even first getting to know the gist of how a stock car functions. Obviously, there are exceptions are there, but general bhed chal jo aaj ki hai, that is a fact. So if I am looking to buy something second hand, I need to check 20 times, is that car clean or not? I will never buy a car that was modded by someone else, because I never know what kind of quality material was used, unless it's a reversible mod, bolt on.
Correct.
Right. But even after driving, you may never know that how abused that car was.
True.
Indians never value cars, they abuse them. That is what has killed the community.
But what do you think are the options if somebody as an enthusiast can do as a profession to continue his passion for cars?
See,
in
there
a
are a
healthy
lot
fashion,
of options. There are a lot of options. Healthy is something which is, like I said, you are curtailed by the management and you are curtailed by the bean counters. If you develop a good rapport with them, you are free to do things. But then, if I talk about, I will not take the name of the person, but I'll just indirectly talk about something. Person making very good looking cars, very good looking designs, then he changes role to another OEM, but then free hand is not there, and that is not shown in most of the launches that is coming, right? That is something which is a reality. Okay, but today, there is no definition of a car enthusiast. There is no definition. Today you see everyone with a camera and a mobile phone, camera and a mic, calling himself an enthusiast. But you need to understand that you need to first develop a taste. You need to know your own car, even if it's an MG Comet, even if it's a Maruti 800, even if it's a Maybach, or even if it's a Ferrari. You need to know how that car was designed, what was the technicalities that went into it, how do you maintain them, what kind of engineering went into that. Even if it's a washing machine or a computer, वो engineer okay बनी है ना गाड़ी.
Correct.
You see the two screens in
True.
front of it, the curved
True.
display.
True.
It must have been through some design stage.
Correct.
People don't see all this. People say, okay, there is a car only, I'm a car enthusiast. I'm coming to a car meet, I'm calling X car a Y car a Z. That is a car enthusiast. That is where today's generation, they are losing their composure and obviously patience.
I think to add to what you're saying, that firstly what you're saying is absolutely right. And to add to what you're saying, if you have a particular car, it could be anything. And if you resonate with that car, it's more than just knowing about what the car went through in terms of design and engineering and other things.
Yeah.
After knowing that, what exactly does all of that make you feel? I
Correct.
think that is what determines whether or not you are an enthusiast. अगर एक गाड़ी आपके पास जो है उसकी पूरी कहानी जानने के बाद अगर आपको एक एक्साइटमेंट होती है तो आप enthusiast हो.
सही बात है.
अगर आपको ये कहानी जानने के बाद enthusiasm नहीं आता, you don't get that rush or something जो हम लोगों को, मुझे और आपको मिलता है, तो clearly you are not an enthusiast. So I think in my opinion it's very clear, it's very important for the other person also to know कि am I really an enthusiast or am I just calling myself an enthusiast?
Yes.
क्योंकि अगर if you're just calling yourself an enthusiast, then अगर आप उसको profession में convert करोगे, that will not last for very long.
नहीं होगा.
Correct.
True. That will never happen.
True. Okay. इंश्योरेंस वाला नहीं बात करनी, छोड़ दिया. हाँ, ये क्वेश्चन में मजा आने वाला है.
या
बट अगेन इसमें ब्लॉग आ रहा है, मतलब एक्चुअली बता देना, मैं क्वेश्चन बता देता हूँ. हाउ डू यू हैंडल डिफरिंग ओपिनियंस एंड पर्सपेक्टिव फ्रॉम फेलो कार एंथुसियास्ट्स एंड रीडर्स ऑफ योर ब्लॉग?
That is a very, I would say that's a very offbeat question, right?
It is.
It's a very, very difficult question to handle. Let me tell you a reason. Everyone has got opinions.
मैं काम करता हूँ.
मैंने
ये क्वेश्चन बोल के मैं हंस दिया, मेरे को हंसना नहीं चाहिए.
Wait a minute, give me a minute.
हाँ.
Let me check कि कोई कॉल तो नहीं आया. चलो, या कंटिन्यू.
वो तो आई थिंक वाइब्रेटर पे है, वाइब्रेटर भी ऑफ कर रखा है.
ऑफ है मेरा.
अच्छा, फोन ही बंद. Okay. How do you handle differing opinions and perspectives from fellow car enthusiasts and readers of your blog?
See, that's a very, very tricky question, and I'll tell you the kind of hate also I've got and the kind of person I have been and what people think and what I am. Right. Since I'm an 80s born kid, I'm still a kid. Right. There's no harm in me. I'm calling myself a kid.
Absolutely.
Right. Because if you call yourself an adult, you are done with your life. You are a kid, you can be playful, you can be good, you can be bad, you can be everything to everyone. But then the problem is how other people take you as a person with what you are trying to convey versus what you are trying to convey when you are meeting someone in real. Right. So because I started to read things, I started to work on the car, started to visit mechanics, body shops, and learn a lot about the history. It is very important to know about the history of a car or even of a country. And then, like I told you, I've been collecting catalogs since the late 90s. That is how I gained a lot of good things within the bad things that happened. Right. But then people always have opinions which are written on the books without understanding the practical implications, except obviously there are exceptions. But then those few real engineers are of the 90s and the 2000s. A person born in after 2002, 2, 3, 4, 5, he hasn't got an exposure like what we got. So that is not the fault of them. Fault lies with how well researched or how poorly researched things have been. Right. Today, if you see social media as a mockery, it is like a pile of crockery just waiting to break apart within just a small fidget of a second. So that is how mockery happens, right? Anyone, like I told you, anyone who drives a car is an enthusiast. But then there is a category of enthusiast. There is a good category and there is a chapri category, right? uh, you can never judge a person by what he's writing and by what he's driving. You never know that the person who may be loud on keyboard may be very sober in real life, or vice versa. Similar for a ricer owner may be very good in the real life, right? But then what problem happens is when facts are not being agreed with, right? Now, when we are expressing our facts, it is because of our experience, of our learning things by doing things rightly or wrongly, or by throwing in money at the wrong place or the right place. Today's 17 to 22-year-old teenagers, they will never agree with our things, because for them it is a car, it is a car, but what is underneath that car, that is of irrelevance to them. And most important, okay, there are people who appreciate my Instagram content because it was during COVID that I really started to push for the archives. Earlier I had no interest. But then the COVID era has been a transformation for some of us, has been good, has been bad for us. But then you should know how to take out the good things of a social media. Everything is a good, is a bad also, right? You can get some excellent content on YouTube, you can get some excellent content on Instagram, you can get some excellent content on Facebook. It just depends on how you deeply go and understand and spend quality time in in understanding and living and learning, most important. So even at this age, every day I'm learning new things, be it my profession, be it even opening the brochure and reading, because not many people know a brochure is more than just a book. It is about how people expressed their statements in marketing a product. Like if I say Hyundai used to write on a brochure, the Santro has got high powered sports car performance, obviously I'm going to laugh on it. But then they wrote something. A Brio brochure had a 8-line love story dedicated to a car. People haven't read that. Mercedes, the older brochures of Mercedes-Benz, they had so emotionally written content on the first 3 pages. I mean, it just captivates you. You have to read them, you have to understand, and then the opinion is something which, again, like I said, it depends from person to person. Respected, it is there. I respect opinion, but when people talk nonsense without understanding the facts, that is where the counter attack happens. Mostly, if you see brand wars, Hyundai versus Volkswagen, Tata versus Mahindra, they keep on happening everywhere. But then people have to accept the facts that none of the today's cars are good. Every manufacturer has issues. Every manufacturer, because you are operating at a tight cost. You are operating at a very tight regulation. So you have to compromise on things that don't last. So people, if ask me which car to buy, I'm clueless. I cannot give an answer.
That's a fact. That's a fact. But how do you handle these opinions? Like I asked you.
Like I told, it's very tough to handle. So either you agree or disagree. If you fight, then you back out, or if things go wrong, then obviously you have to cut off. But then everything has got a phase, everything has got a time. Time heals everything, right? So people should understand these things.
Okay, so this question is kind of related to the fact that, and it's kind of connected to the fact that you have one modern car and you have a classic, which is not so modern, not as modern as the Punto, and you happen to be loving both the vehicles. So how do you balance your love for classic cars with an appreciation for modern automotive technology?
Like I said, every car has got its own way of expressing itself, right? Engineers at the time who worked versus engineers at the time who are working, it shows on the final product that you're driving. That is how I would like to say that.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who wants to deepen their understanding of cars and delve into the technical aspects of automobile engineering?
There is this is a very, I would say, good question firstly, and then there are many facets to it. There are a lot of aspiring people who want to do engineering and who are engineers, but the problem is that the education system in our country doesn't allow that. Okay, real automotive engineers, they are not born here. Today we'll talk about. Maybe in the mid 90s, 2000s, because of their capabilities of doing things, learning things themselves. Colleges of here, they will never teach you quality automobile engineering. This is just related to the books. Lot of people are going abroad to learn things because at abroad, practical implications is given properly, right? So that shows in the way the cars are engineered and designed and developed in our country versus what we are seeing in other countries. Forget about other countries. Have you ever heard of VinFast, Vietnam's manufacturer? If you look at the designs of VinFast, VinFast 8, VinFast 6, you wouldn't believe they've come from Vietnam. You would say it's an American or an Italian design. And now, company like VinFast, okay, they are not that much successful, but they're setting up a plant in America.
Okay.
Yeah. Forget about India. I'm just talking about a country like Vietnam, VinFast. Then Malaysian cars have improved quite a lot. Obviously, they're run by Geely, Chinese. But then, if a person has to follow, has to become a good quality guy, it is see, the government has to support, but the government is not supporting
No,
properly.
no. So what I meant was actually not from the manufacturer's point of view, but what I meant was people like me and you. There might be so many people who might
Yes.
want to deepen their knowledge about cars, गाड़ी की engineering, गाड़ी का design language. To get there, what should be one's approach? What kind of material should a
उसके
person
लिए
go
तो
through?
देखो, उसके लिए अभी क्या है, अभी तो आपको कुछ उस टाइम का कंटेंट बुक्स पे नहीं मिलेगा बिकॉज इट इज ऑल पेपरलेस एवरीथिंग आजकल, ठीक है? आप यूट्यूब में जाओ, एवरीथिंग इज अवेलेबल ऑन यूट्यूब. Wild Films India, what a beautiful channel it is. It has archives of Indian automotive industry. Only you just need to go search into it.
Okay.
Then you have quite a lot of channels that are running the history of automobiles, great cars. Then you have quite a lot of channels that are explaining you the way the car was born, right? There are hundreds of channels in YouTube.
The way a car works, I think.
There are hundreds of channels. See, like I told you, it is the social media. You need to, instead of wasting time on WhatsApp, go to YouTube. You will get everything you want. You just need to be choosy with the words that you are writing to type before you get. Now, if you talk about history of Corvette, there will be 500 videos on that.
True.
I was doing the Corvette story on Instagram, but I had to stop because I am trying to get the best of what I can do right now, because there are about 1,000 websites which I have content about the Corvette. And if you want to write a story on the Corvette, a quality story, is going to take 3-4 months. I'm a very moody person when I'm managing my Instagram account. Sometimes I like to write a story, sometimes I just stop because I'm not able to comprehend.
And why do you say it will take about 3-4 months to write a story on
because it's a 50-year-old nameplate. And every year small changes happened. And by the way you are learning, you want to express. See, my Instagram is not for everyone. I'm not even asking everyone to hit the button and follow. It is for people who appreciate the quality, who appreciate history, who appreciate the past.
So do you think the fact that you just mentioned history and past, the fact that Chevrolet Corvette, it has a very solid history and past, and it has a lot of, I'm sure the manufacturers also had a lot of emotion inside them, that they were able to clearly reflect that emotion in the form of a wonderful design.
Yes.
That's also the reason that it will take probably even more than 4 months to actually put out everything.
It started as a very humble car, but then after Zora Arcus Duntov got into the picture, it was then the seriousness really started. Like if people have read my stories about the Viper and the NSX, I mentioned everything onto it, how Carroll Shelby, Bob Lutz, and was the CEO of Chrysler that time. So how did they themselves marketed Lee Iacocca?
Okay.
Lee Iacocca was he was a CEO who marketed himself. Can you tell me how many CEOs today market themselves in the ads? No one. Nobody wants to promote their brand. Lee Iacocca was a legendary person. He openly gave interviews, came out in ads. He became the face, basically. He became the face, and he even single-handedly rescued Chrysler from the stodgy image that the company had in the late 80s. The minivans, the sedans that they came in, and then the Viper, of course.
Yeah.
The Viper, and then see, Viper was the engine of the Viper was designed by Lamborghini. The
Really?
V10, yes. Lamborghini was at Chrysler that time, so they asked Lamborghini to design that badass V10 engine.
And because Lamborghini had an experience in making big engines.
Yes. And then you had the Ram SRT10. They even had a motorbike with the Viper engine, the Tomahawk.
Correct. I remember. I still remember.
Yeah.
And those times are never going to come back.
Never going to come back.
Just check. Okay. What are your thoughts on future of electric and autonomous vehicles, and how do you see these technologies shaping the automotive landscape?
Again, electric, if we talk about, people are accepting the technology, right? ADAS and electric. But then adaptation comes at a price, the price of safety.
And what do you mean by that?
Electric in India is just right now getting mass adaptation, whereas the world saw electric cars as early as the 90s. Norway, Sweden have been the biggest adapters of electric, Scandinavian countries, right? But then today, because of the tightening regulations, you already are aware of the global warming that we are seeing, incessant rains plus too much of heat. People want to make zero emission vehicles. But then at what cost? At the cost of recycling. I haven't seen a proper recycling plan being made by the battery makers or the manufacturers.
Recycling of batteries?
Yeah. The lithium-ion batteries are very harmful. Vehicles catching fire. You remember the ship wreck that has just happened because of an electric 3,000 cars caught fire.
Oh, that was... Achha, I didn't read the article. Was that because of the fact that it had all electric vehicles?
Most of them were electric, right?
Okay.
And then adaptation of technology. Even in US, you are consuming a lot of electricity, you're putting burden on the resources. So electric, it will take time, but then Europe and US are taking it way too mainstream now. India, another 15-20 years, it will be mainstream.
And amongst electric and hydrogen, what do you think is more sustainable in future?
I think electric. I haven't studied much about hydrogen fuel cell vehicles.
Because like Toyota happens to have recently completed like a very hardcore testing of an internal combustion engine, but that runs on hydrogen fuel.
They are, see, in America, Toyota has been selling the Mirai, Honda has been selling the, what was that name of the fuel cell vehicle? I forgot the name. They have been selling since 10 years now, right? On lease basis. They are doing it on lease, right? FCEV, whatever we call it. Right. But then it hasn't been able to gain traction. So between the combustion engine and electric, the PHEV, the partial hybrid electric vehicle, which has an electric and petrol, or the range extending electric hybrid vehicle with a plug-in charger,
or for that matter, maybe EV and hydrogen and internal combustion hydrogen fuel cell engine.
That is going to be way too complex. PHEV and hybrid, they are a good bridge to get excellent fuel efficiency and lowering emissions.
Okay.
That is the need of the hour.
Okay.
And if I talk about the advanced driving assistance systems or the ADAS, ADAS is only making people lazier. Because see, the car is doing everything, and you are playing a tash ka patta inside an XUV 700 or sleeping behind and making out videos on Instagram. This is stupidity.
But I'm sure
Misuse बहुत हो रहा है इंडिया में इसका.
I was about to say that misuse बहुत हो रहा है.
ADAS tech is there since the 90s in the Europe.
ADAS तो I mean I think Volvo was the one who came up with it. वो तो है ही है उसके अंदर. उनका purpose यहाँ पे थोड़ा ज़्यादा वो दिल पे ले गए.
See, in Europe, why ADAS was required was because the roads are very good. You can drive the car at a constant speed for a longer period of time, right? And people there understand that it is meant to prevent an accident.
Right.
ADAS prevents accidents, which means your insurance premium gets lower. You don't take too much of claims.
Yeah.
Here, people get irritated because of the too much of alarm bells, this and that rings. It is a safety feature to prevent
An
an
accident.
accident, but
Yes.
here the infrastructure and the knowledge and the education is still at zero.
Correct.
अब क्या तो ADAS जो है ना, it is becoming the new fashion. It is not a safety feature. It is becoming a fashion like the panoramic sunroof.
True.
ADAS है लो, ADAS है लो, ADAS है लो, समझ नहीं आता क्या है.
Correct. And Abhi, recently I sat in a car. I was just out for a test drive about 5-6 months back, and so talking about one particular feature in the ADAS, which is a very good feature, automatic emergency braking.
Yeah.
In case the car senses that something is close to your car, very close to your car, the car also senses that the driver has not responded in time, so it stops.
Yeah.
Under 60 kmph or 50
Yeah.
kmph. And there is no way to shut that feature off. Essentially, in Volvos, at least for what I know, there is no way to shut that
Yeah.
feature off, which is a good thing. There should not be a way to shut that off, essentially,
Yes.
because it's a safety feature.
Yes.
But some of these new cars, I believe, they've given that option
Yeah.
to shut that off.
Because somebody from behind can ram you. पीछे जाके मार सकता है.
But I think that you have
See,
a
the
point.
basic problem is people don't maintain lane discipline. People don't maintain that 3-car gap while driving. Right? वो बीच में कोई घुस के आ
You
जाएगा.
can't
then-
handle a three-car gap.
Yeah, see how people drive in India is like this, not like this.
True. Okay. And finally, what advice do you have for aspiring automobile enthusiasts who want to channel their passion for cars into meaningful pursuits? It could be blogging, it could be sharing their knowledge with others.
Like I said, there is no harm in becoming a vlogger as long as you're talking sense and talking quality. If you start to talk cringe, the problem is that people are running mad behind cringe. You're only gaining numbers, you're not gaining the real audience. You may look at some people who claim they have thousands of subscribers, but as in when they keep on sharing the videos, the views are going down. Whereas if we are having quality content with a consistent number of subscribers, which are not in thousands but in say a decent number of thousands, equal number of views, so you have your audience well defined. You need to define your audience. Whom do you want to cater? And if you are trying to make it as a source of income, so that is where you have to run as per the trends, and that is where cringiness has taken over the quality content.
Okay.
This is the unfortunate truth. You have to sell cringe. System बिकता है. System.
चलो, I think on that note there would be, I think,
Yeah.
बहुत सारी conversations है जो हम कर सकते हैं, but I think due to the limitation of time, we
Yes.
can always keep it for another time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you. It was pleasure talking to
just
you.
for the viewers.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, no, not required. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
so much of time.
Thank you. Most welcome.
And I'm really looking forward to longer conversations with you, and probably even a drive in both your cars, because
Sure.
honestly I don't think I've ever sat with you in the Palio. I have sat once in the Punto, and I cannot wait for the Alto that you are planning to steal from your brother. And why
Yeah.
I say steal, because you plan to do all sorts of things with it behind his back.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Done.
तुमने कैटलॉग